You've called this judge a tyrant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you actually use that word a lot with your audience. You call people tyrants, don't you?
Only when they act like it.
Okay. And one way that you've been conveying to your audience that Judge Bellis has been acting like a tyrant is by showing her with lasers coming out of her eyes, right? You know you did that?
I didn't direct that. First time I saw it was in court.
This is the tyrant you've been telling your audience about, right? Yeah.
Oops. Alex Jones can't get himself together. He does this many shows and he can't remember from one day to the next what he's done and said about the trials that he's actually involved in. You saw him, he was sitting there. Apparently he's gonna forget about that too. Again, like I said, this is not a repeat. He's done this before. He goes into court, someone says, you've been slandering the judge as we're going through these proceedings. He goes, I don't know about that, I haven't heard about it at all. And they show it, and he sits there looking like the fool that he is. In fact, let's watch that other time he did it again, because it's just fun.
Saying, Mr. Jones, that you're taking these court proceedings seriously. You're approaching them in good faith. But the truth of the matter is, you've been broadcasting repeatedly a picture of our judge on fire, haven't you?
Objection compound, Your Honor.
No.
The person on the left of this image is our judge, correct?
Yes.
The person on the right is another judge you don't like, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a 5-second clip. I don't know what you've cut off or on.
Gamble comes from CPS, who has been exposed for human trafficking and working with pedophiles.
Excuse me, sorry.
Oops. 2 times, he keeps doing it. And as we know already, he lost that first trial, at least, no, there was determining whether or not how much he had to pay, which, here's some details on that. The stunning episode capped a day of testimony from Jones, who had thus far not made an appearance in the Connecticut defamation trial. He finally showed up to make a fool of himself. The trial has taken place a month after a Texas jury determined that Jones and his company, Free Speech Systems, the parent of InfoWars, should award 2 parents nearly $50 million. He's back at it again, and now these are some of the testimonies from the parents that he just doesn't care about, that he says, I've apologized enough. Yeah, sure, I did it. His pride is just, it's insanely still there after all of this. Let's watch one of their testimonies, the things that he's pushing back on. David Wheeler here.
I felt like I was underwater. And to have someone publicly telling the world that it didn't happen is incredibly disorienting. People were, accusing me of lying, telling me Ben never lived, telling me that I was going to burn in hell, and that I would pay for what I had done.
Of all of the people saying that we faked this and that it never happened and that she's still alive somewhere. God, if she were, wouldn't that be amazing? But she wasn't.
Interesting stuff, Francesca, but here he is still in court, dodging, but then still getting hit. Hope it's for even more this time.
I mean, it reminds me of Trump, and it also reminds me of like the final season of Seinfeld, where final episode where every single person that they wronged comes up to the stand. I want that for Trump. I want to see every single person he has wronged. I want to see the family members of the kids he put in cages. I want to see them testify against him. So I just love watching Alex Jones be held accountable for this. And I love watching his little, again, just red pig face about to go to the slaughter, just like, like that. That warms my heart in the morning. That's my little cup of coffee, and I need that. And I also, but it reminds you, like, it's amazing how if it were anyone else, imagine. I mean, we do stories on this all the time. Imagine if it were a young kid who was arrested because he didn't want to, play kickball in his high school, and he's before a judge, and it was like, hey, were you distributing these images of this judge right here in this court with lasers in their eyes and calling them, I don't know, a lizard or whatever? That kid wouldn't. I mean, can you imagine the sympathy or how that kid would be treated by that judge? No. like overdone incredibly. But these folks, these, like, for lack of a better term, I mean, grifters and white collar criminals like Trump, like Alex Jones, they think they're above, literally, they're in the court of law and they think they're above the law. They have no understanding of justice because it's never been actually applied fairly to them. And finally it is a little bit. And they're like, what do you mean I can't draw these things about the judge? What do you mean I can't call her a whore? Whatever they're doing. And it's like, no, man, don't you know these are basics of the criminal justice system. You can't do that stuff without getting hit even harder with charges or your sentence. So we will see.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
By the way, they don't know. They fight back against the term when it's about white privilege or privilege from folks in these positions, and they exhibit it every time they push back on it, and they have no idea. That's how far from reality they are from it.